Hi, I'm Peter Watt. I'm the Managing Director at Family Support, and thanks for being interested in Family Quest, which is our really simple app-based solution that we've developed that helps us keep on top of our quality assurance work and make sure that we've got both management grip at a corporate level, but also at an individual practitioner level, that there's grip of the auditing work that's going on all the time. So let me just give you a quick whistle-stop tour, and then if you're interested in knowing more, we'd love to hear from you. So really quick summary, we developed it as a Microsoft 365 app with our technical partners Agilysys, because we're not technical at Family Support, but they luckily are. But what I do know is that because we've developed it as a Microsoft 365 app, it sits in a Microsoft 365 environment. So if you use Microsoft 365, this will just fit very easily into that environment, and is relatively simple to do. It also means that it's easy for your practitioners to use, because if they're using Microsoft 365 on their desktops or on their laptops or on their tablets and phones, they can access the app whenever they need to. It's completely configurable, as I'll show you in a second, which means that although we've developed it for us, the approach is one which is very easy for you to use and make work for any service or any educational environment, for instance, that you care to name, because you're in charge of what actually goes into the back end. And it provides you with an audit trail, a documentary audit trail of all of your audit work, both at an aggregate level across a company or across a team, but also at an individual level on any particular case. So very quickly about the user experience, you'll see that, and this is a phone view, but it's very simple. It's intuitive in terms of use. It's not complicated. It allows you to identify roles, so auditor, auditee, moderator, and it will send email notifications between people. So if somebody is allocated an audit, they will receive an email saying you've been allocated an audit and this is when it needs to be done by. If somebody's been asked to moderate, they'll receive an email, could you please moderate this by this point? And that also gives you an actions dashboard that allows you to make sure everything's happening as it should be, and that follow-up is happening appropriately, and allows you to go in and say, you're a bit delayed in doing this, what's going on? When I say it's configurable, let me explain what I mean by that. So what we've done is we have identified 5 domains which link to best practice as far as we're concerned in terms of safeguarding. I also link very much to the Ofsted frameworks as well. And they are assessment of risk and needs, safeguarding and child protection, child-centered effectiveness and management grip. And so what we're saying is, in order to be good or outstanding or requires improvement, you need to do well across those domains. And then we've defined 10 practice standards, again based on Ofsted definitions against each of those. And it's those which you are using to score a file. Now what that means is the descriptions that you're using for each of those are entirely configurable by you. So you can define those 10 data points that underpin assessment of risk and needs, for instance. And that means that you can then compare apples and pears, because you could have one service with one particular way of looking at assessment of risks and needs, which would give you a good or outstanding rating, and in another service it'd be slightly different. But when you run them through the audit process, what comes out the other end, you'll be able to say, you'll be able to compare that service and that service in a really meaningful way. And this part of it is entirely configurable by you. Now we could help you to do that using our experience of how we've done it, but this would mean that you would know that when you were talking about good or outstanding or requires improvement in any of your services or in any of your classrooms or schools, you would know what that meant. And I say that's the user experience. What that then gives you is this is a desktop version view of how you would go in and allocate audits. And you can see that it's very simple, and it gives you a very clear overview of an audit. Has it been submitted? Has it been completed? You'll see there are some draft audits underway. I can see those, and that allows me to very quickly get a snapshot of what's going on. Here's an audit that's ready to submit, and what we want to do now is make sure that the audit is accurate. And so what I can do is I can hover over, you'll see on the right hand side, the little circles with information eyes in them. So I'm the auditor, and I just want to double check what in my ratings. I can just hover over those, and it will give me a prompt that will tell me, back to that you setting to configuring the app, it will tell me what it is that you expect from an audit that is, in this case, hearing and acting on what children and young people say. I've given it a 1. Am I sure? I can hover over the arrow, and I'll say, yep. I can see what you're looking for. They definitely have achieved that in this audit. Then the auditee receives an email notification, and they acknowledge the fact the audit's happened. And you can see that they acknowledge the overall rating. They get information about the what the auditor found, and a summary of a descriptive summary. I, as the auditor, can also allocate action, which the auditee will get as well. So that it requires improvement, and here are 5 really key things that need to happen by a certain date, and I give them priority. So I think what domain they're against, and so on. So again, it's you've got control. You can see what actions need to be undertaken by when, by who. I know what my actions are because I get an email telling me, and I get reminders. And then I get a dashboard that allows me to follow up actions to make sure things are tracked and managed, and I can see across all of the various stages of the process, from my own personal tasks to tasks allocated to auditors, to moderator tasks who haven't completed their moderations yet, to overdue tasks with auditees, and so on. I can see what cases they refer to. I can see who they are referred to. One quick thing just to point out here as well, which is a really important point, I think, in terms of the simplicity of actually onboarding Family Quest. It doesn't link directly to any CRM. So we use Mosaic, and so you'll see it's got audit Mosaic IDs. But because it doesn't link directly, you just allocate on the basis of a CRM reference number. So there's no complicated bridging between your CRM, whichever one you got, and Quest, because it's a standalone app that just sits in 365. The second thing is that means that there's no personal sensitive data in here. You probably notice at the beginning, we're not putting in the names and so on of the families and the children. We're just using Mosaic IDs, and therefore you are minimizing any GDPR issues. You've clearly still got to be careful in terms of personal sensitive data, but it's all happening in your 365 environment, and therefore it's secure. But it's all based on reference numbers, and therefore minimises the information security risks to you, and critically, of course, to the families. And then when it's all been completed, it's really important that you are able to evidence that an audit's happened. So rather than just making a note on a file, audit happened, it produces a PDF that actually puts a summary of the audit that you can then put onto the file of the family if that's what you want to do. And that's clearly evidence that an audit's happened, that the actions have been picked up, the actions have happened. And then finally, and probably I think most importantly, so you're now confident that the audit process is happening, the workflows are going through, but actually, how do you learn from what's going on? And because of the approach we've taken using the domains and using the practice standards, you can report using a whole range of dashboards across across all of those, and that allows you to see where your strengths and challenges are. So recently we had an issue that came through over a period of months, which was clear we had a problem with management grip, and we then did some work with our managers to improve management grip, and we could see the trends changing. So you've got learning at an individual level, practitioner to supervisor, at a team level, because you can talk about this in your team meetings, and you can report on things like progress. Okay, you've got lots of outstanding issues, but also across the organization, you can actually see trends in terms of where your challenges are in a really, really granular way, because you can dive in and say, okay, it's absolutely clear that assessing risk is a problem for us, and you can see it coming through, and therefore we need to do something about it. And therefore you can say, okay, in 3 months' time we should see that improving in that particular domain, and if it does, great, and if it you get the idea. So I think that's enough for now, but just to say, I hope you can see that Quest has been designed for organizations like yours to be able to get a grip in a really simple and easy way of the quality assurance process. It's a really intuitive, user-friendly way of logging all of your audits and making sure that you're on top of all the associated actions and follow-ups. It gives you fantastic data to be able to manage with, and some great trend information about how safe your services are. All of that It's dead easy to implement because it all sits in a Microsoft 365 environment. Look, I'd love to talk to you more about it. So if you want to hear more, then do give us a shout, and you can contact us at familysupport.org.uk. Thank you.